What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and let's jump straight into things. So yeah, I'm gonna get the monthly calendar up, and as you can see, the economic calendar, you can see that we have PPI on Thursday and CPI tomorrow. So not the best day for me to come back into the charts at all, but I am expecting a lot of expansion, especially after seeing how consolidated we were on Monday and Tuesday. I can imagine CPI and PPI going to do a lot of damage, but yeah, it's good to be back. I haven't been in the chart since about Thursday. And yeah, let's dive straight into things. So you can see we're starting here on the monthly. Let me just get rid of this. Starting here on the monthly, and we're starting to trade down into this discount fair value gap. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split the fair value gap up. So we have the high of the fair value gap, which is right here. And I'll just make this black. And then we have the open of the fair value gap right here. And then I'm also going to split and divide it into, I'm going to identify the midpoint. And the reason for that is because now that we've traded into the fair value gap, the next target for price should be the midpoint of it. As in, we should be able to use this now as our next point to call to. So we've entered it. So now can it get to the 50% level? Then if it can get there, then and only then would I think about it get down here. But first and foremost, and I'm not going to bother think about filling the entire fair value gap for now, I'm only looking at that consequent encroachment. So let's get this delineated properly. I'm going to make this a nice soft pink, and then we'll also thin it up like so. And now we know that this is our monthly consequent encroachment and also our target, as in our higher time frame target. So I'm going to put monthly C.E. Move that to the right, and then we can make that black. And then we know that this is the top of the fair value gap and this is the low of the fair value gap, just so that we have an idea of where we are in terms of the range. Let's drop down to the weekly, take a closer look, and you can see we haven't had much movement at all yet, but it's nice to see that we have tapped below this low and this low. So again, this is price telling us, listen, we're willing to go lower. And then, like I said, we have a whole fair value gap, a whole imbalance here, but price doesn't need to fill it all. But the first point to call to should be consequent encroachment, which is why I've delineated that. And if you look closely, you'll see that just happens to line up with another weekly fair value gap. So now we're starting to stack PD arrays. We have a monthly point PD array right here, which is the consequent encroachment. And now we can layer that with this weekly fair value gap, which I'd like to see get filled. And you can see it's just above it as well. So let's get this. We'll make this pink as well. Why not? I never use this color. And I want to see if price can expand down into that and fill this. This is my drawn liquidity for the week. And then, like I said, this could easily get filled on the back of CPI, which is what we need to be careful of. As in, we might move into tomorrow, just, consolidate, and then CPI hits and we just wick down into it and come out of it. That's completely fine. But my call and drawn liquidity, generally speaking, is definitely here. And I'm looking for this imbalance to get traded to. And then once it's there, if we're hanging around there, if we hang around at this point for too long, it's likely price will then roll on down and fill the fair value gap completely. But if we're in it and out of it, then and only then would I start thinking about any kind of retracement. But as you can see right now, price is clearly on the hunt for sell stops, on the hunt for some kind of sell side liquidity. And this would be its next call on a monthly level, which is why I have it down here on the weekly. And we can use that on our 4 hour and 1 hour. Which is what we want to be trading on. So let's drop down to the daily, and you can see we've gapped lower, so we're seeing very heavy weakness. And another thing I noticed is an inversion fair value gap, and we'll study this a little bit. So if you look at the high and the low of this, drag that through, you'll see how price has tapped into the 50% level of it. So let me just make this a bit more clear. Let's make this blue. Oops, those are two different colors. And then if we look at the 50% level, you'll see how our Monday price traded up to it and then left it. And since then we've been leaving it. So this is why the consequent encroachment is so important, because price refers to it like to this level of precision. So that gives us a nice idea as to why we want to see price drop down into here. And on the daily as well, you can see there's even another fair value gap that's precisely on this midpoint. So this is basically, I'm just looking for Tuesday to trade down into here. Now, whether CPI does it or whether it happens before, if it happens before CPI, I'd like to think that we can come out of it, but I don't need to worry about that. My point is, I'm looking for price to trade into here, and if we're not here by CPI reaches, so if it gets to 830 and we're still haven't traded into this fair value gap, I'll be looking for us to trade into it. Now, that doesn't mean go and trade it, because like I said, CPI is dangerous in that it could just wick down into there and wick right back out. But generally speaking, this is my draw on liquidity and where I want to see price draw to. And then again, like I said, I'm happy that we've tapped down into the fair value gap itself. And yeah, I just want to see if we can march down lower into that. So let's go to the 4 hour, take a closer look. And you can see a little bit of consolidation right here. We have a pattern, which ICTs, I forgot the term for it, but there's one high. I'll just circle it. We have one high here. This is way too big, but we have one high there, one high here, and one high here. And this is like a 3 drivers pattern, and then we can see expansion lower with a gap as well. The fact that we're gapping is really important to me, just because it's showing ultimate weakness. Like when we gap like this, complete volume imbalance, and we've filled it and left it again, you know, there's no reason for us to expect that price should be looking for any kind of premium right now. It's hinting to, it's telling us, listen, we're ready to get into the discount. And like I said, we've already identified a clear buy side imbalance, sell side, a clear imbalance down here for price to accumulate stops and potentially either a reverse or roll over. So we'll go to the 1 hour, just take a closer look, a little bit of consolidation. You can see it looks like there was a nice setup here potentially for a little trade. But again, we haven't had much movement since open of the week. Let me go to Sunday actually. I haven't actually seen the Sunday opening price, see where we are in relative to that. So yeah, you can see we've tapped above that Sunday opening price once or twice this week, and then we've left it. So this is showing like a lot of weakness. So you can see we ran above it on Monday, here, and then we tapped it on Tuesday and have left it. So this might be enough. We might just see price continue rolling over. It all depends on how we treat this after we've traded to it. But this is my ultimate draw, and right now I'm seeing it act as like a magnet. So I'm watching that pull price lower with the expectation that it will be able to eventually reach down there. There is a magnet emoji, but I don't want to waste too much time looking for stuff like that. Here it is. Yeah. So I'm just looking. I'm looking at price like this. It's getting pulled down into this because remember, this is a monthly higher time frame PD array. The consequent encroachment of a fair value gap is a PD array. So we're seeing it from a monthly level pull price lower. So this is why I'm expecting price to be able to get down there. So that's everything on dollar. Hope that all makes sense. Let's head on to GBP USD. And I've already done the markings on this. I actually recorded a good 15 minutes, I'd say, and I realized I didn't hit record. But it is what it is. Let's start on the monthly, take a closer look, and there's a few things I want to draw out. So unlike dollar, pound doesn't have a clear PD array in the premium, as in it has a bearish order block, but it doesn't have an imbalance. But there is an implied fair value gap right here, as in this range. I'd like to see price trade to between this high and this open downside delivery. I'd like to think that price can draw up into this range. So for now, that's what we're going to use. It's called an implied fair value gap. ICT has spoken about it. I can't remember what video, but he has taught it like once. I think it was in the 2023 mentorship. But generally speaking, I'm looking for price to keep drawing to this. And then this is our monthly magnet on pound at this point, especially the way we traded through these fair value gaps. This is the next target I'd be looking for. And then as we drop down to lower time frame, I'm looking in this range to see what else we can find. And the thing that's most attractive to me is these highs, this high, and this high, relative equal highs. That's where liquidity is, and right above here is where that's sitting. And it also happens to be in a breaker, high, low, higher high displacement. So that's another reason as to why price would want to trade back into here. So let's get that marked out as buy side liquidity, because you know there's a pool of liquidity. Why? Because there's relative equal highs. Get this dragged out, put that on the right like so. And then we'll go to the daily. And one thing I've noticed as well is that these relative, so this high, and this high is what I'm looking at, and the fact that they're so smooth is why I doubt price is just going to leave it. Another reason I want to see price draw up to there is because this is, as before this move downwards, this is the consolidation. As in, I'm looking at this as what we call an original consolidation, and it's very typical for price to be able to trade through that and run out the highs in it. So I'll have to do a diagram. Assuming price gets up there, I'll do a diagram of it like tomorrow. So make sure to hit subscribe, turn on post notifications. But there's a diagram that can explain this, assuming we can get up to that buy side. But first, I do also want to bring our attention to, you know, the consolidation as a whole. So let's look at the top of it. Look, we're looking at volume here. If we drag this right through, there's something really interesting. If my mouse works, and I usually make my consolidations like a. Let's make it white just to have a closer look. So on the way down, this was a point of selling. This was a point of distribution. And as you can see, we're trading through it on the upside. So it should be a point of accumulation with the expectation to let off stops above here, assuming we're bullish and assuming that dollar is going to continue lower. And then we've already identified our PD array. Remember, this is a implied fair value gap. It doesn't actually exist, but it's implied that there's, you know, heavy downside delivery on a monthly level. And then there's the relative equal highs, which are more, you know, important to me. But what I want to show you is look at how price is respecting the low of the consolidation. So this is where the consolidation left, right here. There's even a gap, breakaway gap, And you can see that's where price is finding support right now. You can't make this stuff up. Look at that. And look at how we're respecting the 50% level off it. Now, what I'm showing you isn't like a exact, this isn't, it's not like a exact, you know, strategy or anything, but it's just interesting to see. So now, and this is only the daily level. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the last 3 days, and I'm going to look at how price traded and look at where we were at. Well, we have a bullish order block right here, and we have a bullish order block right here. As soon as Tuesday traded through Monday's high, that then makes this a bullish order block. So that means that the 50% level will be the very lowest I want to see price trade. So I'm going to mark that out for moving into CPI. So this is the open of the bullish order block. And then again, 50% level is what we call mean threshold, which is the lowest we want to see price trade. Ideally, it doesn't even get down there. The very lowest I'd ideally want to see it trade to is 25% level. So now I've got 3 levels, which I'm happy for Wednesday to make a low at. We've got the open, which will be ideal if we can just leave that. The 25% level, which will be better than the 50% level, and then we've got the 50% level. I know this is very complicated, guys, but this is how I'm breaking down price. But I, generally speaking, from this time frame, as soon as we start tapping into this bullish order block, I'd be looking for longs, depending on the time of day, assuming that dollar's looking like it's going to its target, and, you know, assuming we're not crazy bearish and like rolling over at that point. And then what we do is we drop down to the 4 hour, and you can see just pure consolidation. So I'm looking for another, what happens after consolidation? Expansion or reversal. But I'm not expecting a reversal at this point, because I'm convinced it hasn't reached its target. Its target, as far as I'm concerned, is up here, in line with dollars being in the discount. So that's how I'm breaking down price. Don't get me wrong, if we this is the lowest I'd want to see price trade. If price manages to bypass this level, in fact, let's make this a bright red. If price manages to trade through that, I'm not trading. I don't want to be involved, and it's likely we're on the wrong side, and we can start looking for sell stops, and that's completely cool. But unless so long as this stays intact, I'm happy for an expectation to run up to the buy side. And then again, I'm happy for us to tap into the 25% level if we have to. It's just ideally we don't. So yeah, moving into the new day, what am I expecting? Again, nice bullish order block here. Happy for price to tap into it, whether that's London session, whether that's Asia session. I want to see us tap it, and then I'd like to think that we can bounce off it and then see expansion. And one for the buy side again. But CPI, there's only so much we can predict, guys. It's very low probability. And then we can also look at a breaker, low, high, lower, low. Look at this last up close. You know, the fact that we ran out these tops, this point, this last up close right here, you know, this should act as a level of support. It's just that this is on the 1 hour, so I don't want to trust it too much. But, you know, we might find that we don't even reach the bullish order block. We might just tap into this, and that's enough to send price. So there's a few things we can pay attention to. But overall, that's what I'm looking at. And then let's see where the Sunday is on here. Actually, I keep forgetting. Sunday opening price was, yeah, would you look at that, the bullish order block. You can't make that stuff up. What a coincidence. But yeah, we've spent time below here. Now we're finally above that Sunday opening price. That's another reason as to why it should be able to provide support, because we're back above it, we're closing above it, we ran out highs, and we know where we want to get to. And then let's finish up on Euro USD. Now, I haven't actually looked at Euro. Let's go to the monthly. And similar to dollar, there is a fair value gap. So we're going to do the exact same thing. What's that? We mark out the high of the fair value gap in this case. Make this black. We mark out the low of the fair value gap. And then the 50% level is where we want to see price trade to. Now, that 50% level might be a bit of a short reach for price at this point, because we're, you know, but regardless, this is where it should trade to first. It can't get to here if it can't. It's impossible for price to get to here if it doesn't get to here first. So instead of reaching for crazy targets like this with the expectation that we're going to fill every fair value gap, consequent encroachment is a safe point because we see it every single day. You know, consequent encroachment be used as a level and a significant price point for price to draw to. So with that taken into account, let's drop down to the weekly. Not really much going on here. Again, fair value gap right here, which is nice to see. So it'd be nice to see if price can fill that. But if we were to trade above that, it might find support, and that will help it run into that 50% level. And then we need to see how it acts. Breaker, high, low, high, high. Displacement, fair value gap as well above it. But price doesn't need to get up to there. I'm happy with us just just tapping into that 50% level. That's what I have my eyes set on. That's what I'm drawn to, in line with dollars discount PDRA. And you can see it just happens to line up with the bearish order block as well. Let's go to the 4 hour. It looks like euro is significantly strong right now. Let's go. Where's the Sunday opening price on euro? right here. Yeah, price didn't spend long above there at all, below that Sunday opening price at all. You can see our price has left it. So yeah, there's no reason for us to not expect that price can wander up into that 50% level. And then once it gets there, we wait. We see, okay, is it going to continue? If it's going to continue, where's it going? To fill the fair value gap. If it's not going to continue, it'll probably consolidate a little bit, maybe hit that 75% level of the fair value gap, and then we'll see it reverse and we can start thinking about discount PDRAs. But until then, as far as I'm concerned, price is going to keep pushing, and maybe it might be CPI that gives us a reversal on the week, but generally speaking, this is where I want to see price hit first. Yeah, going forward. So that's going to be everything, guys. I hope that all makes sense. It's good to be back. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join me over on Discord, turn on post notifications, and if you found the if you find this video useful, do drop a comment below. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.